music for today's ceremony is provided by the United States Army 25th Infantry Band, the McConney Collective, under the direction of Staff Sergeant Elizabeth Thacker. Please join me in a round of applause and thank them for their service. Today, you will witness one of the military's most time-honored ceremonies. In days gone by, when a soldier retired, their entire regiment turned out to honor them with a final farewell. The Army MCOM Pacific is privileged to continue this tradition. On behalf of Mr. Craig Dietrich, Director, MCOM Pacific, welcome. Today, we will honor and bid farewell to Chaplain Colonel Chip Fields and his wife, Mrs. Sherry Fields, for their long, dedicated service to our nation. The official party for today's ceremony consists of Mr. Craig Dietrich, Director of MCOM Pacific, and Chaplain Colonel Chip Fields. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the invocation given by myself and the playing of the national anthem and the Hawaii State Song by the 25th ID McConney Collective. Please join me in prayer. Great God in heaven, thank you for the privilege to be here this morning and honoring your sovereignty over the life of Chaplain Chip Fields. We thank you for the gifts, talents, and stewardship you have bestowed on him. We ask that you honor his and Sherry's and their family's faithful service and ministry over the years of devotion to God and country. I ask that you continue to prepare the way for their next chapter of ministry. In all that we do in this time and space, may we honor you as our Creator and our Sustainer. In your holy name I pray. Amen. Thank you, 25th ID McConney Collective. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We are honored today to have many distinguished guests joining us here this morning. Brigadier General Kane Baker, Infantry Deputy Commander, Support, Mrs. Diana Helwig, and Mr. Dietrich. Thank you so much. I thank you for I'd like to offer special recognition and welcome to the following members of Chip Fields' family. Their children, Taylor and Reed Fields, their cousin, missionary to the island of Guam, Ian Richards, and their friend, Tammy Alexander. On behalf of Chaplain Colonel Fields and his family, I also want to extend a very warm welcome to the other distinguished guests from our Army families and sister services on Oahu. You honor us with your presence today. As long as the armies have existed, military chaplains have served alongside soldiers, providing their spiritual needs and working to improve morale and aiding the wounded. U.S. Army Chaplain Corps is one of the oldest and smallest branches of the United States Army. The Chaplain Corps dates back to July 29, 1775, when the Continental Congress authorized one chaplain for each regiment of the Continental Army, with pay equal to that of a captain. Since the War for Independence, chaplains have served in every American ward. While their duties are primarily focused on spiritual and moral issues, many chaplains have also demonstrated tremendous bravery. Stories abound of chaplains administering the last rites to fallen soldiers, oblivious to the fire that is flying around them, or dashing out to open to rescue the wounded without regard for their own lives. Many have made the ultimate sacrifice, living up to the Chaplain Corps motto, Pro Deo et Patria, for God and country. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce the host of today's ceremony, the fourth director of MCOM Pacific, Mr. Craig Dietrich.
And what a treat. Carol Baker, Ms. Hellwig, thank you so much for joining us. And normally, as the chaplain said, these events were attended by the regiment of soldiers. We recognize the retirees. We have a regiment of chaplains, I think, here today, which is testament, Chaplain Fields, to the honor once they conclude today. So, good morning. Thanks to all of you, especially distinguished guests, to celebrate Chaplain Fields and to celebrate his retirement. I consider it an honor to be able to participate in your recognition of retirement today. For those of you who know the chaplain, we know him to be a man of faith, to God, to his family, to his nation. Chip achieved great things in the service, but ultimately it's the people he touched for which he'll be remembered. So left and left, positive legacy upon all. We've had the privilege of knowing him. Chip has over 40 years of service, even though he looks like he's quite a bit younger than me. Starting with the Marines, which is why it explains the yellow footprints when anyone who's been to the Marine Corps recruiting depot in San Diego, you get off the bus and you hit the yellow steps that guide you to the destiny of the next several years of your life. And so when he enlisted, he was eating sea ration, drove the N151 Vietnam era Jeep, carried a 45 caliber handgun. There were no 3-round bursts on the M16, no Kevlar helmet, no Humvees. His drill instructors were Vietnam vets, and from time to time the job required him to mix napalm. To put all of this into perspective, 40 years lapsed from the attack here at Pearl Harbor, the day when he joined the Marine Corps as an enlisted soldier, and since then, nearly 40 years have passed. It's an interesting kind of juxtaposition of watershed events for the Department of Defense and his service to the nation. Chaplain Fields has a long, distinguished Army career, and locally served as command chaplain for the Army Contracting Command. Lord knows they need all the help to that. And then he went on to serve as Deputy Command Chaplain for Army Material Command in Redstone, Arsenal, Alabama, and another organization. Okay. He then served as the Garrison Command Chaplain for Fort Hood, Texas, which included overseeing spiritual and religious services for about 400,000 soldiers, family members, and other military affiliate personnel coordinated here to us at the MCOM Pacific team. Chaplain Fields has served in MCOM Pacific the last 3.5 years, and during that time he led, developed, and trained 9 garrison religious services operations, consisting of 30 chaplains, 35 religious affairs specialists, 78 civilians served across 20 million square miles, 9 time zones, and multiple cultural differences all providing more than 50 weekly worship services, 80 religious service education events, and more than 25 religious service facilities across 4 different nations. Very impressive. Thank you for everything you've done. It says here, extemporaneous anecdotes for during friendship. So I had a lot. I could talk about the huge pickup truck that drives. I won't. He likes parking in front of the building and not in a real parking spot. Probably my most memorable event was we had an organization day a few months ago, and Chip showed up in his Marine Corps shirt and an Army organization. Endless grief. I still do, in fact. Actually, I mentioned it this morning when he and I were talking. But once a Marine, always a Marine. And once an Army soldier, always an Army soldier. I think once a chaplain and a man of God, always a chaplain and a man of God. So, your commitment to the Marine Corps, but as well to your chosen career and profession, the path in life, the calling of the Lord, really just fantastic. So thank you. So over his many years of service, Chaplain Fields' imprint on others as a spiritual leader, a mentor, and exemplar of faith has left his imprint on thousands of people. I mentioned the yellow footprint, so I won't get into that. Again, the chaplain, we are going to miss you as a colleague, and most importantly, we'll miss you as a friend. You've just always been a reliable person leading Bible study classes for our little staff. As mentioned by several of our departing employees over the last couple of years, made a huge impression on the most recent weekend. Really appreciated your counsel, your Bible study, particularly the time when you most needed it. You've been there for many of our employees when they most needed it, so thank you. God bless you and your family as you move into this next phase of your life. You have friends in us and we will miss you. Today is a celebration, even though it's a departure of Chaplain Fields, and you will miss him. This is a celebration of the next phase of your life. And thank you for your service to our nation, to our soldiers. Well, thanks.
July 20th, 1942, has awarded the Legion of Merit to Chaplain Colonel Charles M. Fields, U.S. Army Material Command, for the exceptional meritorious service as Directorate Chaplain, United States Army Installation Management Command, Pacific, and in other positions of increased responsibility from October 1st, 2012 to September 30th, 2022. Chaplain Fields demonstrated outstanding performance, strategic vision, and a unique blend of soldier skills that allowed him to assess complex challenges and guide commands to successful mission accomplishment. Colonel Fields' achievements, dedication, and exemplary performance of duty, which culminate in a distinguished career of over 40 years, are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, the United States Army Material Command, and the United States Army. By order of the Secretary of the Army, this 30th day of September 2022, signed Edward M. Daly, General, U.S. Army, Commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And please hold your applause till the remaining certificates have been received by Chaplain Fields. Mr. Dietrich will now present a certificate of appreciation from the President of the United States. It reads, to Chaplain Colonel Charles Fields, I extend my personal thanks and the sincere appreciation of a grateful nation for your contribution and honorable service to our country. You have helped maintain the security of the nation during a critical time in its history with a devotion to duty and a spirit of sacrifice in keeping with the proud traditions of military service. Your commitment and dedication have been an inspiration for those who follow in your footsteps and for all Americans who join me today in saluting you for a job extremely well done. My best wishes to you for happiness and success in the future. Signed, Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Chaplain Fields will now be presented a certificate of retirement from the Armed Forces of the United States of America and the United States flag, which is flown over the Missouri this morning before the ceremony. The certificate reads, you shall see these present greetings. This is to certify that Chaplain Colonel M. Fields Charles N. Fields, has served faithfully and honorably and is retired from the United States Army on the first day of October 2022. Signed, James McConville, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. Mrs. Sherry Fields, will you please come forward and join Mr. Dietrich along with your husband? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dietrich will now present Mrs. Sherry Fields the Public Service Commendation Medal. The citation reads, the Department of Army, this is to certify that the Secretary of the Army has awarded the Public Service Commendation Medal to Sherry L. Fields for exemplary service in support and faithful dedication to the soldiers, civilians, and families of the United States Army Installation Management Command. Mrs. Fields' positive and inclusive approach built connections through the installations and communities. Her willingness to be present in the lives of others and improve the quality of life for all speak highly of her character and reflects great credit upon herself, the Installation Management Command Pacific, and the United States Army. By order of the Secretary of the Army, this 30th day of September 2022, signed Craig L. Dietrich, Director, Installation Management Command, Pacific. Mr. Dietrich will now also present Mrs. Fields a certificate of appreciation from the Chief of Staff of the Army. The certificate reads, to all CCDs present, greetings. This is to certify that Mrs. Sherry L. Fields, on the occasion of this retirement of your spouse from the United States Army, has earned grateful appreciation for her own unselfishness, faithfulness, and devoted service. Her unfailing support of understanding and help to make possible your spouse's lasting contribution to this team. Signed, James McConville, General, United States Army, Chief of Staff. And now, Mr. Dietrich will now present Mrs. Fields with a certificate of appreciation from the U.S. Army Chief of Chaplains. At this time, will the rest of Chaplain Fields' family please join them at the front? This is a chance to take photos, if you so choose. Mrs. Fields, Taylor, and Reed, please take your seats. And Mr. Dietrich, you may take your seat also. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to present Chaplain Colonel, retired Chip Fields.
Yes, sir.
Is that on right there? So, hey, Andrew, can you bring the ladies over here, please?
Absolutely, sir.
We'll start off with that. I just want to present some graves to my family, friends, and everything. These flags that I have right here, these two flags, were falling over the battleship this morning. And I have two certificates that go with them right here that certify that they're falling over the family and friends, and co-workers, and the chaplains I've been working with all these years. Thank you. You honor me with your presence here. I thank you so much. I got to thinking about, of course, this morning when I was putting on my uniform, obviously, probably the last time I put on my uniform, and it started hitting me how this is the end of something that happened, as Mr. Dietrich said, started 40 years ago. But I remember the quote by Winston Churchill after the Battle of Alamein, where the tide had turned for World War II, for the Allies, it turned for good. And Churchill didn't want to, he was kind of cautious in his words. He knew something good was happening, but he ended up saying, "This is not the end. It's not even the beginning of the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning." And I like to think about that when I'm thinking about retirement, at least for me, that it's not the end, it's not the beginning, it's the end of the beginning of something that God had called me to do 40 years ago, and He's going to call me to do something else next. And so it's just, it's a comma, it's not a period, and I hope that I continue serving Him until the day I die. As I think a famous missionary once said, "I'm indestructible until God is finished with me." And so this morning, though, I want to turn my attention away from me and to you. And that's why I asked you to be here this morning. I sent out the invitations for that purpose. I had a friend of mine named Edgar Epps, who's a chaplain assistant. Some of you may know him. Some of you chaplains may know him. He was a chaplain assistant when I first came in '93, and he helped me assimilate into the chaplain corps as a battalion chaplain. And I remember he was so kind and treated me very nice and showed me the ropes, showed me how it worked, how the system worked, and he really got me off to a good start. And I was so appreciative that I never told him this. Later on, he became a sergeant major and ended up retiring and working as a civilian in Fort Jackson at the chaplain school. I found out about this while I was here in Hawaii, and I sent him an email, and I asked, I said, "Hey, are you the same one that I worked with when I first came in?" And he acknowledged. He said, "Yeah, that was me," and he remembered me. But then there's this phrase we use in the military, it's OBE, stands for overcome by events. And that means that you just get busy and you don't do certain things. Well, I was OBE, and I didn't answer him back, but I wanted to tell him how much he meant to me during that time and what he did for me. And so it got to the point where I'd forgotten about it, but I was going to get to it at some point until my NCOIC once told me, "Hey, you know Edgar Epps that works at the chaplain school?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, he died this morning of a heart attack." And it hit me. I never got a chance to tell him how I felt about it and what he did for me. And it moved me so much. It reminded me of 3 questions, actually, that we should ask concerning the people we love so that we will have closure without regrets if we never see them again in this life. And the 3 questions are, did you express your love? Did you express your gratitude? And is there any unfinished business that needs to be resolved? Sherry, you're the reason I made it to the finish line. I don't deserve you. And yes, I do know you have my best interest at heart, like you asked me the other day. You look stunning today, by the way. Thank you so much. Taylor and Reed, I love that you are here with us, making memories on this island as a family and growing closer as we're still even learning about each other. Jeff, Scott, Malika, my foiling friends, you welcome me and my sons into your wonderful, exotic, and mind-blowing thrill of flying across the water and seeing perspectives of an island very few have witnessed. Thank you for that. Okay, Sean? Where's Bill? Bill. Francis, Larry, and the rest of the group over there, you make coming to work so enjoyable that I actually look forward to Mondays. Spending time with her. Tammy, you introduced me to my bride. As her college roommate, you left impressions upon her that reverberate today as I see her listening to the Word of God every morning. There's a former brigade commander here who abruptly ended a very important meeting with his staff to pursue me and to listen to me and to offer his support. I saw Sharon here, Sergeant Major. I wish I had never fired you. I wish I had. I know I was going to talk about how your husband got me assimilated and got me set up for success before good. Tell him I appreciate that. There's a chaplain here whose sermons affect us in no ways no other preacher has. And we will miss your commitment to honoring not just any author, but the author of life. To all my neighbors, we've never been as close to our neighbors as we have with you. You welcome us into a neighborhood, and you make us feel like your family. We thank you for that. Chaplain Calvert, you had every reason to be cynical and ambivalent in your service in uniform, but you chose the hard right over the easy wrong, and you ended up far surpassing any field grade I know. There's my fellow buddy, Sergeant First Class Nero's back there, Sergeant First Class Mendoza. And if I don't mention your name today, or I will before I leave this island, I will tell you how I feel about you before I leave, and I will not have any regrets when I leave this island. I encourage you to do the same. Waking Ned Devine is a clever film that illustrates what I'm talking about beautifully. It's about a man from a tiny Irish village of about 52 inhabitants, all mostly honest Irish country folk living simple lives. Big news hits their tiny village when they discover that someone from their village has won the Irish National Lottery. The only problem is that Ned Devine, the winner, lives on his own, has no family, gets so excited about winning that he dies, smiling with his hand still on the ticket. When his friends Jackie O'Shea and Michael O'Sullivan discover that Ned has won only after writing his name on the back of the winning ticket, they must concoct a quick scheme to keep the winnings from reverting back to the state, which is what would happen if the lottery folks found out that Ned was dead. They convince almost everyone in the village to go along with the scheme. Michael O'Sullivan plays the role of Ned Devine, and when the lottery man comes to confirm him, it goes off without a hitch. They fool him. They're going to keep the winnings. After they believe the lottery official has left, the people gather together to remember Ned Devine. Now they're going to actually remember the guy who left. But the official has not left yet. On his way out of the village, he hears them singing. He enters the church to see what's going on. Jackie O'Shea quickly devises another plan and gives a eulogy to his friend Michael O'Sullivan, who is actually sitting alive in the front row. Jackie has a unique opportunity to give a funeral oration for a man still living. Why do we wait until a funeral to speak our love, our gratitude, and our affection? I thought about this not too long ago when I had a funeral and people were giving eulogies. And I'm thinking, why are you saying these things now? Why don't you say it while the person's alive? Right? Why do we do that? Why do we reserve our best words for people after their death? It doesn't make sense. What a wonderful thing it would be to visit your own funeral. Michael O'Sullivan sitting here, she said, maybe to say a few things yourself. An eternal perspective teaches us that relationships can be forever, and time is not to be feared. Funerals are not the time for our words of praise. Now is. If we really believe this, we will treat people differently. We will remember how many times the Bible tells us God loves us and wants us to love each other. We will be generous with our words of praise, more cautious with our praise. Rodeo and Patria, are we strong? And good night, Chesney, wherever you are.
and gentlemen, if you are already standing, please remain standing as we for the playing of the Local Boy and the service medley. You can find the words to the song, to the words for the Local Boy, and your bulletin along with the words of the Army song. Texas today, and a heartfelt welcome to the 25th ID's Mechanical Electric. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. If you would, please bid your farewells to the Fields family up here front. Thank you so much for your attendance.